Hello, for Force. This is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, and today I'm going to be talking about an article that I found from Variety by Brent Lang. It said Warner Brothers weighs in on Joker controversy. Film doesn't endorse violence. I'm going to say it out ahead of time. I'm not really interested in seeing this movie in the first place, so I don't have an axe to grind or anything. It's just, I don't care. Maybe if I catch it later on for free on Netflix or something, maybe. So anyway, it says, Warner Brothers has weighed in on the mounting controversy surrounding Joker, an R-rated comic book adaptation that is being criticized for offering an in-depth portrait of a mass killer. Now, yes, make no mistake there, Joker is definitely a mass killer. We won't argue that. He definitely is. But it says, in a statement on Tuesday, the studio hit back at suggestions that is glamorizing a mass murderer. And that's something that's popular with our culture today. They sure do love to always find some reason to be outraged over a premise of a movie. It's getting pretty hard to do something that's original today. That's why we're seeing so many remakes. And yeah, this is a little controversial. It's a little original. But if you really think about it, is the Joker going to be portrayed as a hero? So let's go on. It says, make no mistake, neither the fictional character Joker, which is true, fictional character, this is fiction, nor the film is an endorsement of real-world violence of any kind, the statement reads. In quotes again, it's not the intention of the film, the filmmakers, or the studio to hold this character up as a hero. And it's exactly. If you know the Joker, he's anything but a hero. He's a nutbag, complete psychopath. And if I don't think anybody doesn't know. Even if you're not following comics, you know the Joker's bad. I mean, Joker's been in Batman movies time and time again, Suicide Squad and everything else. So people know the Joker's a bad guy. So going into this going, oh, I thought the Joker was going to be a hero. Come on, let's be honest here. Either you are under a rock in culture or you're just looking for a reason to complain. Now, as I said, though, I personally don't have any real desire to run out and see a movie about the Joker, but hey, maybe you do. Warner Brothers broke its silence after family members and friends of the victims of a 2012 mass shooting at a screening of The Dark Knight Rises in Aurora wrote a letter to the studio expressing concerns about the film's upcoming release. There is the concerns hitting up hard again. The letter supported the studio's right to make the film. Well, now there's the right to make a film. Yes, they have the right to make this if they want. Those people also have the right to not watch it. Why do we, I understand. Feel free to voice your concerns, and I have no problem with that. So that's good. We're getting a dialogue back and forth here. And that's good that they also supported the studio's right. And that's something that's fundamental, that a lot of these groups and things, when they're against something, don't express the right to do that. They think they have the right to shut it down and cut off that platform. So once again, the letter supported the studio's rights to make the film and endorsed freedom of speech and artistic expression. So kudos to them. However, its writers called on Warner Brothers to take several steps to get involved in the gun control movement, including pledging not to donate to political candidates who take money from the NRA. And there's the real truth. They're just using the movie to make a political statement. That's what it really was. It wasn't about the movie to begin with. It was about them and their views on gun control and politics in general, hidden within using the movie platform, which is funny because usually platforms like movies and things like that and comics are used for liberal agendas. And now, to promote that little liberal agenda, now they're saying, hey, be careful of this movie because of it doesn't exactly go with our liberal agenda because of something else, which is just a little bit weird. Warner Brothers stopped short of agreeing to those calls to action, but it said that the company has a history of supporting those causes. Now, let me ask you, why does that company support those causes? It's a company. A company is, and people don't tend to get this, a company is not one person. Yes, you have spokesperson, you have leadership and all that, but an actual company is a large group of people, all the people within it. So it's really not fair for when a company supports a particular cause, because there could be people working in that company that don't agree with that cause. And if they don't, how can you voice your opinion without the possibility of being ostracized from your own company and having negative consequences? And we've seen that today. We've seen that a lot. And that's why it becomes problematic when companies support things. So Warner Brothers should put you on pause a little bit there. Stop short of agreeing to those calls. Then in quotes, Gun violence in our society is a critical issue, and we extend our greatest sympathy to all victims and families impacted by these tragedies. Quote, the statement reads, our company has a long history of donating to victims of violence, including Aurora, and in recent weeks, our parent company joined other business leaders to call on policymakers to enact bipartisan legislation to address this epidemic. Now, I'm going to say there's good and bad there. The good is, you know what? They gave to help support those victims, and that's an honorable thing. I think that's a wonderful thing. Let's help support those people that go through tragedy where they're losing family members that support their family or whatever it may be. That's a hard thing to get over. Heck, lose a child is just absolutely devastating to your life. So that's good. But then where it gets a little problematic is where they mention that, they work with policymakers. Join our business leaders to call on policymakers to enact bipartisan legislation. I tend to wonder how bipartisan that was. At the same time, Warner Brothers believes that one of the functions of storytelling is to provoke difficult conversations around complex issues. And that's an interesting thing there. And I think that's good. A movie could, doesn't should necessarily, but could, and same with comic books and other forms of literature, make you think about a situation. But there's the key. Make you think. Their goal is not to tell you how to think. And we get that in a lot of pictures today. They tell you how to think, and then they claim they want to just cause a discussion. Well, if you're going to want a discussion, you need to write it very properly. And you have to try to find a line of giving facts from both sides and let the reader or let the viewer come up with their own perspective and view based on what they see. Unfortunately, as I said today, a lot of times it's more ham-fisted and crammed in your face. A great example is you look at a lot of Chuck Dixon comic books. Like Robin, there was one about gun control in the school. He wrote it very even-keeled, showing some of the negatives of the guns and the situations that happen, but also there's positive reasons for that. If it's done right, it can be good. It can be inspiring. It can make us think. It can create that dialogue. But if it's done wrong, it just turns us off because we don't go and watch movies and escapism and read a lot of comic books in most cases to get a lecture. Instead, most of the time we do it to be entertained and relaxed. Now, sometimes, yes, we do seek movies and things to be to learn and things like that, and that's perfectly fine. But let's be honest, you're not going to the Joker movie to watch it to learn something and get educated. Let's just be realistic here. The initial letter to Warner Brothers from the families of Aurora victims was signed by Sandy and Lonnie Phillips, a couple whose 24-year-old daughter Jessica was murdered. Teresa, however, the mother of 18-year-old Alexander J. Blink, who was shot and killed. Heather Demain, whose cousin Ashley Morton. So now they're going to some of these people lost an unborn child. They're trying to use this article now to start about the movie, but they're using this article to push gun control. So we have to be careful. How could you not expect that from Variety, right? So it becomes from we're going to talk about the Joker movie to all these people are killed. We need gun control. So going on after it gives those names and some other information there. It says, let's see, a sympathetic origin story gives us pause. And using a maxim made from Spider-Man comics, go on to note that, quote, as anyone who has ever seen a comic book movie can tell you, with great power comes great responsibility. By the way, that's also wrong. That's not how it is. It's, with great power must also come great responsibility. A lot of people quote that Spider-Man thing wrong, but that's the nerd in me. It says the shooting Aurora took place during scene. Now they're going into this Aurora thing more. At midnight screening The Dark Knight Rises and resulted in 12 deaths and 70 injuries. Warner Brothers produced the film and donated $1 million. They produced that film, donated $1 million to charities to benefit families of the victims. Okay, once again, watch how this article just keeps trying to shove that gun control in there. Not really the Joker related. Then it goes back to Joker. Joker centers on aspiring stand-up comedian whose mental health issues escalate, ultimately leading him to a life of crime or criminality. His offenses inspire others to engage in violent actions and provoke widespread anarchy. Right there. That's probably one of their bigger triggering parts. His offenses inspire others. If a movie is what you're using to use as a gauge for learning and what's right and wrong, you have the wrong subject matter for that in the first place. Just saying. And granted, this is a film and he's inspiring people to film, that's fine. The film has received support from many reviewers, particularly from the central performance of Joaquin Phoenix, but some critics took issue with its bloody climax and underlying social message. There we go again. Todd Phillips, the film's director, told IGN that the film doesn't excuse Joker's behavior, and it shouldn't, because Joker's a nutbag. And in quotes, the movie makes statements about the lack of love, childhood trauma, lack of compassion in the world, he said. I think people can handle that message. And you know what? He's probably right. I mean, we need more love in this world, right? Absolutely. And if you follow good principles, not learning from movies, one of the key principles you're going to learn is love. Man, that means, it takes a lot to love your neighbor, especially when they wrong you or you have some kind of disagreement that you think you're wronged. And so love is a big overcoming thing, and maybe sometimes it doesn't hurt to poke a little bit more into that and explore that avenue of how just turning other cheek a little bit more, going the extra mile to love someone or help somebody out in their day. What positive effects could it have, and what could it stop? Maybe that's part of the reason we have so much mental illness and issues today, as people are going through their lives feeling unloved, uncared about, hated constantly, and they're just having nobody there to help them. Anyway, continuing off my soapbox there, movie theaters around the country did not respond to requests for comment about whether or not they're tightening their security procedures in anticipation. Of course they're not going to, because they say, oh, this theater's going to. That just redirects that nutball to another theater. They're going to be keeping quiet probably about that security and hopefully have it beefed up to the necessary requirements. However, one knowledgeable insider said exhibitors were mindful of the situation and were closely reviewing their internal security measures, just like they should be. And so after all, it said Rebecca Rubin also contributed to this report. So there's the article. Here's the thing. It's Variety, as I said. It really, if you got to be careful of articles like this, it really started talking about Joker, but then if you look at in the middle of it, they tried to push their political message of gun control in there. So it's a gun control message hidden in a Joker article because they knew it was going to get views and get clicks and get attention. My point to you is, you look into the situation, you look at yourself, there's a ton of misinformation out there about gun control. They don't like to spread how many times a gun in a home has saved people's lives, scare people, or saved a person's from rape or whatever it may be, and other uses for guns, how we're allowed to have guns. They love to say, oh, we don't need this type of gun and that kind of gun, where it never specifies what type of guns we're allowed to have in our in our rights anyway. Not amendments, sorry about that. So there's never been, because back then, even, guess what? You could get the biggest, best gun you could. You could get a Gatling gun if you wanted that period of time. People don't actually look into that. And they also tend to ignore things like suicide and things like that into it. They tend to only grab the pieces of data they want. So I challenge you. I'm not telling you to think one way or another. I'm telling you, grab more information, get it from more sources, and figure it out for yourself if you're getting into that debate. All right, well, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit like, subscribe, hit that notifications bell. If you don't mind, check out our Patreon, help us out there, or even just a one-time donation through the link down below that you can see as well. Or you can even buy some merch, of course, by buying a t-shirt, a cup of clock, whatever makes you happy. All right, well, thanks for watching. Until next time, keep it frugal.